All right, good evening and welcome to each and every one of you, and congratulations for being a part of this very special group. This is week 1 of an 8-week journey, learning to unleash the power of your yes energy. And for some of you already among the ranks of our new yes energy coaches, this is the first of 12 weeks. So whether you are with us for the next 8 weeks or the full 12 weeks, you are in for some serious transformation. You should be reading your book. Laurel will know if you don't. And learning about the equation that makes this all happen. And right now, open up the inside cover and read along with me from the front inside cover. Yes energy, the strongest energy, always wins. That's it. That's the key to moving from your current situation, any situation, into the life you've always wanted. This groundbreaking book presents the power of the yes energy equation, which you can employ to attract abundance to all areas of your life. This formula can help you lead your life to achieve financial freedom, center your actions around a spiritual core of certainty and confidence, upshift your attitude into consistent optimism, commit to engage with others at the highest, most satisfying levels, create the enterprise you've always envisioned, and dust off your dreams. Best-selling author and entrepreneurial speaker Laurel Langmeyer developed this simple and straightforward methodology, which is revealed explicitly in these pages because she needed it herself. Knocked to her knees more than a few times on her true grit journey from farm girl to multimillionaire, she knows what it's like to hit obstacles hard. Yet, despite the blows, she still stands and she still delivers. So if you want to learn how to tap into infinite, productive energy, extreme optimism, and calming, clarifying spirituality to improve your life in any way, this is the book for you. Harness the yes energy equation and supercharge your life. And now let's turn to the inside back cover and borrow from the words of the good people at Hay House Publishing to introduce you to your yes energy mentor and coach. Laurel Langmeyer is one of today's most visible and innovative money experts. Because of her tenacity and absolute confidence in what she teaches, Laurel is one of only a handful of women in the world today who can claim the title of expert when it comes to financial matters and the making of millionaires. She accelerates the conversation about money, sharing how to not just survive this tough economic climate, but to succeed and thrive. She is the best-selling author of the Millionaire Maker series and Put More Cash in Your Pocket, as well as leading entrepreneurial speaker and the CEO and founder of Live Out Loud, Inc., a multi-million-dollar company. So without further ado, let's set our compass to yes energy and welcome to the call, Laurel Langmeyer. Are you with us, Laurel?
I am, and thank you so much, Don. I appreciate you. And those of you that have any questions, go ahead and type them into the line. So again, if you are listening on a replay line, you're going to get a lot from this series, but we really encourage you to be live, be available. There are hundreds and hundreds, and you can see on the line that they're not in attendance yet. So that's the first Yes Energy Challenge, is that you put this as a priority, that you turn up and be present and be live, come with questions. And as we continue, we're going to be putting together a site, findyouryesenergy.com. So findyouryesenergy.com will be where goodies are stored for you. So, and there'll be a password on there that we'll execute. So you'll have a replay of the call. You'll have some homework there. You'll have any sort of handouts or things that we go through that we might just make up together. There'll be places where you'll be able to comment, and we will have resources that'll comment back. That'll be during the week so you can keep moving. And your engagement is critical. And I think all of you know our technology. We know who's there. We know who's not. And if you're really serious about having yes energy in your life, the first part, like anything, is you got to show up. So we're embarking now on an 8-week journey. Now, most of you are all participants, Actually, all of you are. And then there's a subset of you that are coaches where you're participating in the very thing you're going to be certified in. So we're excited to bring this 8 weeks to you. In the past, we've called them reading rooms where we're going to read the book. Now, I'm not going to literally go word for word in the book, but we are going to go through several chapters. We're going to give homework. You're going to work on that. We're going to come back. We're going to answer questions from the homework and comments and sort out what you really explored and what you really experienced, because part of your experience is going to come from the action you take week by week. So my challenge to you is to take this very seriously and take it upon yourself as a really kind of spring cleaning. We're going to be doing this through the month of March and April, cleaning out the no energy and really set yourself up for high success in the months to come and making 2012 a big turnaround year. We are clearly marching and walking through a recessionary time in the United States. I know there's folks that are from all over the world, but in the U.S., this is a presidential election year, pretty pivotal time for whether this economy moves faster or continues to stumble along. There's all sorts of issues. I do a lot of work, as I think all of you know, in Australia, and there's a lot of issues down there as well, and a lot of talk of recession, which that no energy is going to walk them into it if they don't watch it. So with that, I want to make sure that you all have your book. If you don't, I want you to email into our to info, info at liveoutloud.com. Jessica gets that email. Let her know that you had ordered a certain period, that your books hadn't arrived, that something happened, because you got to have a book. You got to be looking through this book. The audio file of the book will be coming out. The audio program, of the book, not the file, will be coming out and available on Audible and Amazon and through us on April 2nd. So there will be that available, so you can put that into your all sorts of downloads and listen to that all the time when you're out doing whatever you're doing. And I want you to really use the book as a workbook, like turn down pages. I want you to highlight next to it, dedicate a notebook or some sort of paper, and then next to that would be a calendar. So those of you that take this very serious, you're going to lay things out like that, like what's really going into your calendar. How are you going to repattern and reprogram your day, really? What actions and homeworks are you really going to take on? So with that, let's begin. The dedication of this book is to the team and to the community of Live Out Loud. I've done a lot of books in service of my children and my family. One to my father and one to my best friend Diane is also where I start the introduction of this book. And this one was time that together we're going to create Yes Energy. And really the challenge, and I'm really expressing it more and more during the 3-day workshops, is you have a bigger obligation and opportunity in your community to reach out and be a leader and bring Yes Energy to a community that might be struggling wherever you are in the world, to bring entrepreneurialism in a different way, to sell very assertively, because in sales you serve. Remember, those of you who meet the needs and solve the problems of the people that you serve, it's a service-based world, and you deserve the compensation for that. And so in that, you stir your economy and you make your economy move. And it's taking a lot of Yes Energy to get that moving, as we all know these days. As you open up the book, because we're going to keep moving through it, one of my oldest friends, Diane, who's passed on, we did used to call this thing the gift. And it's been an interesting journey writing this book and really sourcing and describing a way that I've just always lived. I think those of you who've known me for a long time know that I always say yes and figure out how. And it's sort of been a fun saying, we've really wrote an equation in the book around how do you say yes and figure out how. How do you have that commitment and that faith and that certainty of just knowing that you really get to design your life. And that's really what Yes Energy is about. You can either stay in compromise and stay stuck, or you can accelerate and move very quickly. It's totally up to you, and it's a choice. Being stuck is a choice. Being in compromise is a choice. Being broke is a choice. Having a business that's broke is a choice. So what are you willing to do to shift the momentum towards what it is that you really want to create? And where are you going to stop compromising? And again, you can start taking some notes, because we're going to come back to this. And I'll be repeating out homework, but a big 4 that we're going to repeat on a fairly frequent basis is, where are you compromising? Where are you tolerating? What are you avoiding? And who are you blaming? And in the spirit of all of that, where are you going to focus to design your life the way you want? And we're going to be looking at a lot of areas of your life and those 4 questions against those. So as I wrote about in the letter from, just from me in the intro, is there's this gift, this energy, this magnetism that people who live yes always have. And I know I've, had that comment since, really notably since I was 7. So I know that I was born with it. I know that you were born with it. There's just, a variety of us that have, decided to take it on and live that way. And even with the hardest hits, whatever those things are for you, mine was losing business systems to, tough hires and fires, to lawsuits, to divorce, to, standing and knowing I was going to be a single mother, to, all sorts of tough, living in a male-dominated world, to, fighting this interesting battle with a whole bunch of my colleagues of these lovely online, reputation issues. So we've all had them. And I think one of the things that, so kind of a second piece of homework that I'm going to bring in is, where are those places that you've really been hit and you know noticeably that the gift that you have went down or you started hiding it. Where in your life, it could be when you were really young, it could be, and we're not doing a whole bunch of therapy, so don't worry, we're only going to, like I say, we're going to do 7 years of therapy in about 7 minutes here, so don't get too panicked. For those of you going, why are we going backwards? Because you know me, I don't go backwards too far. But I do need you to identify those moments where you know that you had some of the hardest hits, where you made the biggest compromises, and this is, your own private paper. No one's looking at what you're writing down. So I shared some of mine with you. What are yours? And some of you might be in situations. You might be in relationships. You might be in family situations. You might be, faced with something urgent. I'm thinking right now, today we were notified of one of our big table graduate students. Her husband was in a fatal car accident. And, what's she dealing with now? Is she going to, how is she going to take that on from, living in no energy, or how's she going to posture that with her and her children? She's got an amazing journey back from that, I'm sure. All of you, everyone's got a circumstance, everyone's got a situation, something that could have taken you, as we say in the book, taken you to your knees, and it's your choice to stay there. We have so many people that we have coached that are, completely quadriplegic from an accident, to people born with no arms, no legs, to blind, to, deaf, completely deaf, or even just hard of hearing. All sorts of things. But they live $1 million life, and they have amazing yes energy. And so there's a circumstance that might have had you be somewhere and have you adjusted somewhere. And the question is, are you okay that you adjusted there, or do you really want that full yes energy back, that pure intention, that pure authentic, just say yes. You get to wake up in that calm, spiritual, solution-oriented spot and move forward. So that's the conversation we're having, and you've got to look really deep. And I think that part of that looking deep, and it doesn't have to be long. Like I said, it could be 7 minutes. Just, what it is. It doesn't take a whole bunch of therapy to say, when did that all happen? No, you may be ignoring it. But the truth is, if you got honest with yourself really quick, really fast, and wrote down a few things where these moments in your life caused you to shift, to adjust, to hide, to tolerate, to compromise, those are the times you need to start applying this equation to and saying, what do you really want from here? So those are interesting times. You can, do some reflection about what caused it. But I would bet that this thing we call your gift, where is it? Second page as we move into that, where is it? How do you get it? And what do you do with it? You all have it. And the question is, what will you do with it? And yes, energy is a commitment. It's a way of life that we want you to bring to the world. So I think many of you who've been watching us launch this book and launch this, it's not just a book, it's a movement. We want you to have it. We want to know it. We want to be able to see each other. We want to be able to see that gift in each other. And believe me, more and more and more of our students get it. And you just know, you can just feel the energy, that excitement, the vibration. And it doesn't mean it comes without tough days. I can promise you, you're going to have some interesting days. And by and large, the goal is to stay standing in yes energy every day, as many days as you can. And what's going to support you is up to you. Now, I always say it's your people and in your environment and how you set yourself up. But, for some of you, people in your environment are critical, but maybe not as important as the next person. So all of you have to find in your life what gives you the energy and what takes energy. So again, we're writing down, the four big questions of, what you've compromised, what you've tolerated, what you're avoiding, what you're blaming, looking back at the moments that were tough, right? And what caused you to start doing that? Really, what started you to have those moments of I would say of tough, not even objections. It's the moments that like mine was my marriage. I knew that I was compromising, and day by day, the toleration got higher. I mean, I just knew that. With lawsuits, which kind of goes into this next activity I was going to give you, is start noticing what takes energy and what gives you energy. So for me, as we read, and we'll talk more about that, is how do you protect your energy? But really the focus, before we talk about protecting, because there's an entire process we're going to go through later in our series about that, is what I want you to notice and journal about is what gives you energy and what takes energy, right? Because for some of you, people take energy because you don't know how to protect. And so that's not a place to look right now until you have more skills. For some of you, just cleaning up your environment, have a supportive, amazing environment. And I have people who will talk about music to candles to just how their space is organized. For me, huge energy comes from books. I have an amazing library and pictures. I'm very visual. And so I love coaching when I have all sorts of books in front of me and I've sped read through them, and I know there's certain things, and if a client has a problem, and I can look at different books, it's highly inspirational and energetic because I know what's coming from the mind of that author. And so what supports you? What gives you the energy? Mountains, water, snow, all that gives me energy. For some of you, that would be horrible. You need the beach and warmth. So it's up to you, but I want you to start really paying attention to that. And the way that I want you journaling and taking notes is there's places for homework, and then there's places where you need to leave yourself several pages of reflection, of deep reflection around things like this. What gives you energy? What takes energy? And for some of you, you're really, really, really new at this, and you don't know. And so you have to try some stuff on. So don't get too anchored, would be my caution, in what you think you know too soon. Because you could take on something that you think gives you energy, and really over time you realize that it's exhausting for you. And as we get into some of the chapters and some of the work about how to protect your energy, how to regain it quickly, how do you stimulate very quickly, those are going to be really important things to start noticing and looking at. So what you're going to see out of really tonight is a lot of awareness and paying attention. You're going to hear me use that word a lot, is pay attention at different levels. So many people, and you all notice it, you've all been in a mall before, it's probably the best place to direct you, but most people are at what I call level 1 consciousness. Level 1 meaning they're all about themselves, in their own mind, and in their own dramas about their own little thing and what they got to get done. They don't have enough consciousness to be outside of themselves and notice the process, notice what's going on, notice the energy. And then a level 3 consciousness we're going to talk about, which is noticing everything and having a source from higher level spirit to God to intuitive connection and being able to, which many of you have seen me in a room, be able to read a room and move the energy in a room. And I can move it up and down and sideways and back, and I can move a room. And it had taken a lot of experience. And you all have the gift. That's what you have to know. You say, well, I'm not as good at it. You haven't practiced enough. That is the only difference between many of the things that I'm going to talk about that I do and that you're going to do. It's a lot of practice. So that calls to discipline. That calls to consistent repetition and constantly being in the game. I mean, constantly being in the game and course correcting and being very aware, not on level 1, but at least at a level 2. And my goal by, the next 8 weeks is to get you to a 3 of really noticing and paying attention around you. You should be able to watch other situations around you, whether you go to a restaurant and just watch the energy. You'll notice the dynamics of certain interactions versus, other interactions and what's going on, and intuitively read it, not be so analytical about it. And those are all just skills you're going to put on your tool belt as we move through our 8 weeks. As we go into the introduction, we've been talking a lot about this. We're in a time of busy, not productive. Too many things, we're doing too much for too little benefit. the potential talent is going undiscovered and underutilized. And I think many of you can relate to that you have amazing potential, that you've come here to live on the planet, to serve the planet, to give back, and you're just not seeing the result or the fulfillment or the beauty of what you're really doing. And so there's something off in the sequence. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to do it. I would suggest you're probably not doing it in the right order or with the right team or have the right formulas, have the right coaches, have the right mentors. Like something's off on that model. And then this big one is it's time to dream. It's time to really expand and really decide what it is that you really, really want. So tonight, our goal is to talk about the equation, give you some homework, and send you out, which I'm going to repeat later too, but to send you out to some big, hairy, audacious dreams. And during the week, I want you to share them. And so as we build out the findyouryesenergy.com area of the site, we'll be building it, with you over the 8 weeks. And we want you posting comments, making requests, and I want you posting your dreams. What is it that you really want? Why is Yes Energy important to you? I know it's important to me, but why is it important to you? And post comments, post thoughts. Just start sharing in this community of people. And again, there are hundreds and hundreds. In fact, we might, as of earlier today, even got close to 1,000 that are attending. Again, may not be online, but are registered for attendance. So throughout that time, our goal is to get a lot of engagement. The more you share and live out loud about your dreams, about the things and areas that you're compromising. Because I know some of you think, well, I'm not going to share where I'm compromising, what I'm tolerating, what I'm avoiding, and what I'm blaming. I'm not going to talk about my tough times. I'm not going to talk about who gives me energy or what gives me energy and what takes energy. And I'm just going to invite you to start getting really vulnerable and honest with yourself and others. No one's going to judge you in our community. That's just not how we play. It's from a space of, oh, you have that too. See, many of you think that all those things that I've given you some action on tonight so far are things that only you have. I can guarantee you are not the only one with your problem. I can guarantee you're not the only one that has a circumstance or a situation, that someone else has had something close to it. And the more you connect to each other and connect to those that are in your world and demand a higher level of performance and accountability and action towards the dreams you want, towards the goals you want, towards the result you want, your life's going to start shifting. But a lot of it is that non-negotiable tolerance. It is absolutely not going to be okay for substandard attitudes, mediocrity anymore, and only you can hold that line every day. So I can tell you to do it, and only in those moments when it happens are you going to be the one to say yes or no. Only in those moments are you to be one to compromise again or hold a very strong, courageous line with yourself. And this isn't about judgment. Again, I have to take that back over and over. It's not about judgment. It's about you living purely in your yes energy and the integrity to what it is you say you want. And remember, not all of you want the same thing in this program. You all come for different reasons. The more you share, the more you're going to find your like kind, the more you can support each other. So your homework as we continue is we're really going to get into some of these first chapters, the introduction, of by not taking any risks, we risk it all. And I think that's really kind of themes what I was just speaking about, is by you not going for what it is you want. I mean, you get one walk in with this soul, this time, on this planet. And Les Brown says it so well. He said, most people, unfortunately, risk nothing. So they die at 20 and they wait to be buried at 75. And I would hope that that's none of you on this call that ever occurs. Now, you may have done that, but it's time to wake up and take the reins back of your life and get yes energy back in your life. And, the thing I'm going to say about risk, and as you can see, I'm just kind of paraphrasing some of this, and then you're going to go ahead and read through it, is risk to me has the highest association to education and experience. The more educated you are, the more experienced you are, the less risk you're going to feel in your life. So I can apply that to any situation, but I always apply it to sports. In fact, apply it to my favorite sport, skiing. That if I took you helicopter skiing, majority of you on the call would about freak out or die. You'd go, oh my God, I can't do it, and it's very risky to do it. Or I could also say jumping out of an airplane, bungee jumping. what other little sports could I put on there? Motocross riding, all the fun things I love to do that are high adrenaline sports. But I could put those out to you, and you'd say those are very, very risky. And they are very risky because, A, you don't have the experience to do them, or not enough experience to do them, and you don't have the evidence that you're going to be safe, and you're not educated, which means you haven't learned. But I would bet if you took it on, and I have so many students who have taken on, and I just using sports as an example. I can use monetary investment as an example. I can use entrepreneurialism as an example. I can take taking on your health as an example. I can take any of the areas of your life as an example. And it feels risky because you don't have the experience, you don't have the education, and you don't have the evidence. So without those things, it feels really scary. But once you learn, and once you've done it a few times, you look back and say, well, that wasn't too bad. Now it doesn't feel as risky. So all of the things that we're talking about, and my goal is to continue to coach you through all sorts of things. Yes, energy being the first, so we get that back in your life, and then let's take on this entrepreneurial businesses. Let's take on corporate structure. Let's take on investing. Let's take on the stuff that I've been teaching about for the last 11 years. But we got to take it on with a different energy, which means we're going to speed to those millionaire statuses in 3 to 5 years. But I want you to be really, really rigorous with yourself. That's my challenge, and I want you to take on and notice that if you feel risk upon you, say, well, how do I need to get educated to reduce the risk? What experience do I need? And then where I want you looking is who has the education and experience that can shortcut you and speed you along to the result you want and that evidence you want really quickly to reduce the risk. Because a lot of times say yes to your how feels like it comes with enormous risk. I can guarantee you, which I've never thought about like that, but those 3 E's, right? Those experience, that education, and the evidence that you'll start creating will reduce the risk. In every area of your life, you're going to look back and say, I can't believe I was that scared about those things. But you got to start marching your feet, and the risk isn't going to go down. The feeling of confidence isn't going to emerge forward. That certainty that I talk about in the equation is not going to emerge forward unless you're willing to take it on. So again, by risking nothing, you risk it all, in my opinion, because you risk the biggest gift that you came to the planet with, and somebody's waiting for you. Someone is waiting for you to serve them. And I would think it is a huge, huge detriment if you never took on taking on the biggest gifts and talents of your life that do serve a lot of people. You may not know that they're out there, but it's because you haven't stepped up to play and you haven't said yes. So let's move on to further parts of this introduction where I talk about the extreme optimism and energy, the EOE, the extreme, and then we shorten it up a little later. I call it the extreme optimistic energy equation. And extreme optimism is just a way to live. Now, does that mean you're going to have a tough day and, have all sorts of obstacles and things thrown at you? No, right? But it's about how do we find the solution and the best solution in the moment as quick as you can, where no energy people just cancel everything and throw in the towel. And I think for some of you, living in yes energy requires you to lay down perfection. And in fact, we're going to do a lot of work on being imperfect versus, right? It's kind of the perfection is such a problem. Right? In fact, my exact languaging I'll get to, but I think I call it the problem with perfection. And the problem with perfection is that so many of you stay in no energy, which is not really intended to be no energy. And I just want you to kind of think about this in different places you do this. It's not really intended to be no energy. But what happens is that you consistently say no through delays, through excuses, through I need to create more, I need to do another product. Like I have a brand new Big Table, which is our Big Table mentoring program here in Lake Tahoe at our conference center, a whole new group of people in the room. And it's interesting to hear, well, I got to create more. I have to do that. I got to wait till my website's fixed. I got to wait. And like no money's coming in the door. And why are you waiting for all these things? In a lot of ways, in a lot of ways you're saying no. In many ways. I mean, it's a flat no. It's my circumstance. I can't hire a housekeeper because I don't have the money. Well, then do the right things to get the money and stop speaking about what you don't have and what's not working. It's so critical to do that. So extreme optimism is a framework of how I want you to start thinking about living your life. And notice my languaging. I want you to start thinking about it. I didn't ask you to commit to it yet. You have 8 weeks to put this plan together, make some very deep commitments, very deep insights with yourself, clean some stuff up, right? Really clean some stuff up. Not like on an action plan, like it's done. Like I want you to think about the relationships where there's compromise or tolerating or you're avoiding having conversations, like just handle it. And I want you to put a date on it. So that's why you want your calendar next to you. So any of these things that occur to you, some of you I know are going to rigorously take on this plan. Some of you are going to listen and say, well, that's interesting. I'll think about it again. Like thinking about it again is a way to say no. You don't have anything to think about. You've been thinking about it for the last years of your life. Just do it. Put a date to it and be non-negotiable. And even if all circumstance, when the thing, rolls out, like I had a student just recently want to roll out a huge webinar, had wrote a book, and only about, I think she said 3 or 4 people turned up, and she canceled it. I said, no, you don't get to cancel it. I want you to schedule that right back into next week, and you keep going. It doesn't matter how many turn up. The fact is you've begun and you're executing for the first time versus putting it off because you're judging your results. So all of you, I want you thinking about all these places where you say no, and it's little subtle excuses that are across your life that cause you to not have that extreme optimistic energy. Okay, so I want you thinking about all those things. Again, tonight's a big hello, wake up, let's see what's really going on, get really honest with yourself, and let's start digging in. Now, the equation is so cool. I mean, of course, because I'm a little biased, I made it up. But the equation, as we move into it, has 8 components. So the first one is change your conversation, right? And then there's an F for faith. 2C is confidence and certainty. Now, I want you to take your faith, certainty, and confidence and multiply it times your dreams. I mean, I want you to go big, 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 big. And again, I want you sharing it out on the forums and out on our posting boards. Now, I want you to add your gifts. Now, if you haven't read the book, and I'm fine if you actually jump forward because some of the conversation will get much juicier for those of you who pace the rest of the group forward. But gifts is enormous. Like I talk about the gift of water. I talk about the gift of nutrition. I talk about your libido. And no, that's not just sex. It's your physical energy and so many people. I mean, I take Napoleon's Hill stuff in such a deep level on leveraging your libido, which is your physical energy. Some of you are very, very strong. Steve Stealth-Miller, who was on our Yes Energy stage and in our summit. I mean, the strongest man with his, he has the Guinness World Book of World Records. He's the strongest man with his hands, and he's won 5 cage world champions in MMA. And he's not the big guy, but it is pure source libido energy. It is physical. Libido is physical, by the way. It's not sex. Even though it's kind of fun to kind of throw that out and see what y'all thought about it. But literally, those of you that were with us in San Diego and saw it, and I'll have a video available later in the year, he turned an entire frying pan into a little tube with his bare hands. Now, that is sourced physical energy. And here's what I know about all of you, is if you got to it, we all have amazing energy. And, there's studies that say that we don't even use 1% of our energy, that we're not even using 10% of our brain. I don't know if those statistics are right, but it's itty-bitty percent of our energy. There's so much available to you. And the lie that you've been saying, as you look at the energy equation and adding your gifts and adding the team and adding the sequence, is, well, I'll run out of energy, I'll get tired. No, if you use your energy in a way that serves, contributes, and is generated and sourced, you actually will have more energy. I mean, the use of energy will accelerate in your life so quickly that you're not going to get tired. I mean, people look at my life and say, I don't know how many people during this book launch, during so much of the things that we've been doing, say, I don't know how you do it, and I do this. And so I know how to source energy. I know how to consume it properly, and I don't be around a lot of things that take it, especially negative things. So, I got to say that there's a private agenda. I want a lot of Yes Energy people around, and not just around our community and becoming my friends, but that I do get my friends from our community. The people I spend time with, there's new private plane mentoring that I'm doing. Anybody interested in that, you can let our team know. But I'm taking 3 people up on the plane. We're going to go away from 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock at night. I'm not going to tell you where we're going, but we're going to have a great lunch. We're going to have a great dinner. We're going to have some Yes Energy wine or some Yes Energy drinks, and we're going to mentor and mastermind people's businesses for 12 hours. It'll be 3 people at a time. It's going to be hot, hot, hot. So we're going to get one scheduled. We're going to do more. Why do I share that? Because I know those people are going to become dear, dear friends of mine. I just know that. I know who they are. I know their commitment to it. And that's just how it happens. Yesterday, someone asked me on a call, where do you find Yes Energy people? I said, well, you have to be it to attract it. So all of these areas of your life, I'm just going to, going around the space of life to have you look at the places that you need to shape up. And we are going to talk about shaping up. We're going to talk about getting in shape. We're going to talk about paying attention. So as you go back to this equation, I want you to look at the gifts, look at team, and look at sequence. All of these things equal the equation, and we have a lot to do. So tonight what I want to do, let's jump forward a little bit to part one. So the energy equation, and I love this Thomas Edison. There are no rules here. We're trying to get things accomplished. In fact, I have these signs made above the door of both my conference rooms here in Lake Tahoe because I think one of the things that causes no energy are rules of the past. It's the way we've always done it. You know, my team at Live Out Loud knows that it's like, you know, grating chalkboard noise to me when I hear one of our teammates say, you know, well, it's just the way we always did it. And holding on to something, even if it's sort of working, what's the next level of excellence? What's the next level of excellence? What's the next level of excellence? And not tolerating that stagnant energy of what's just there. So I want you to start looking here. Where are rules that you have that you just haven't broke? You know, in corporate America, they say, you know, is there any sacred cows? Meaning, is there anything that absolutely can't be moved? And I think as a business owner, you have to be very careful to watch where you have sacred cows that aren't serving you. Meaning rules or things or people that kind of, you know, they either need to, you know, move up, step up, create more excellence. As we go into chapter one, and I want you to read through this, like really mark it up, ask questions throughout the week, the obstacle course, right? Energy, promise, and the speed of attitude. So, you know, in the beginning I talk about, you know, how do you capture this extreme optimism and energy? You know, I've discovered it over the years, and it's really caused me in writing this book to really tighten up all those places of my life. And then, again, write the formula to share with you on how I do it. And here's the other invitation as I say that. I'm thinking, you know, some of you might have another piece of the equation you want to add that makes sense for you. So I'm not going to say that it's, you know, this is the end-all, be-all, and it's all only these 8. For some of you, you could put the right combination of maybe, you know, 7 of them together. You could put the combination of 2 more things and have 10 parts of your equation. So I'm not attached, is my point, to how you get it done. I am attached that you get it done. And that's why I think I give a lot of the creative freedom in all my work, which is sequencing. Sequencing is you got to do the right thing at the right time for you without any excuses. So right time for you doesn't mean, well, I've got to get ready, because that's an excuse. You know, so many people, you know, delay coming to my 3-day workshop or coming to the big table because they have to get ready. You don't know how to get ready for what you don't know how to get ready for. So get honest with yourself about where you're delaying. But there also is a very essential truth to being ready for the right things. Like I wasn't ready for the Yes Energy book until I was ready for it. And the reason I knew I was ready for it is everything, once I said yes, pulled it forward. Now, I had said yes to a book, but not this book, about a year ago. Actually, I mean, it'd be now 2 years ago. And there was no movement around it. There was no energy around it. So that's what I want you to tune into. When you say yes and things start propelling you forward because you made that commitment, then it's time. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to feel risky. It doesn't mean it's not going to feel scary. That doesn't mean you're going to know how to do everything, but that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do it. When energy propels you and you just know, there's a knowing that I need you to pay attention to. All of you know what you should or shouldn't be doing. You do know. Whether you want to get honest about it is a different conversation, and not one really going to have. I expect you to get honest and expect you to get honest very, very quickly about what it is you're doing and how you're doing it. So the obstacle course is about the energy promise, that it's there. It's always been there. You always can tap into it. The first chapters you see, I talk about my finding out, right, the historic surprise that I was going to have Logan, and I was going to be a single mom. That was very exciting. And I wanted to stay in Sausalito, California. I didn't want to move home. So I talk about how I sourced team, how I sourced energy for that. And then immediately, very soon after that, my entire database and accounting system falling apart. That was exciting. And then I talk about the beginning of some fabulous lawsuits, of which my greatest mentors say to all of us, you know, you're never really in business until you get sued. Like, that was exciting, too. So I just share with you some of mine, and there's more that come in the book. But that's where I invited you earlier to start looking to, where's your obstacle course been, and where can you start watching for what happened, and then let's clean that up. At the end of every chapter, if you move on to page 14, the inquiry is consider the past few years, and for many of you, it might be more years than others, and some of the most difficult obstacles you had to overcome in your life. Right? So, and you notice that I'm looking at a lot of areas of your life. So on, this activity, I want you to look at what was specifically the situation, how did your energy get drained, what was the obstacle, your attitude, how did you approach it, what was the result. I want you to add the earlier homework that I put in. Where did you compromise? Where did you tolerate? What are you still avoiding, and who are you blaming because of it? Consider the people that were involved. Who were they? Did they help or hurt? It's really important you start cleaning that people stuff up. And then what did you hold most dear? What ideals, beliefs, values did you hold dear? Was the framework threatened, nurtured? How has it shifted? Did you make up some rules that you took on that you really need to let go? So again, it's a lot that I spoke about, but it's really starting to clean it up, and it's in question form right here. So some of the next steps is, again, write a sentence or a phrase that describes the perspective on the situation now. Write a second one that describes the perspective on the situation, and are they the same? So if yes, are you stuck in a story, or if no, have you moved through it with success? So really do some of that honest assessing, and let's look forward to starting to get in shape and pay attention to what's going to leave that behind and only move you forward to extreme optimism, energy, and really have the life you want. Like, what are those dreams? So being switched on, I love that phrase. They use it in Australia all the time, is you got to get switched on. And in a lot of ways in America, we could say you got to pay attention. You got to really pay attention, and at a very high conscious level. So during your day, in addition to watching that, what I call level 1 consciousness, which is you talking to yourself, you thinking to yourself internally, I want you to start paying attention, not only to what you're doing, but to how you're doing it and why you're doing it. And not to the point that you become some, mega analyst in all of this, but just noticing. It's just noticing without judgment. Got to put those words in. Don't get judgmental and harsh with yourself. Just notice, like, why do I do that? Like, that's interesting. What's causing that? Because we got to do a little bit of 7 minutes of therapy. We just got to all keep it 7 minutes and promise to do that, and no big dramas around it. So energy and extreme optimism are everything, right? You've seen it yourself. Perhaps you've won over someone, by later thinking, wow, that was phenomenal energy she has or he has. Great coaches, teachers, preachers, as I go on to say, they all have great energy. So you all have it too. And for many of you, it's looking at, where is it? And again, the roller coaster, as we continue to look through, the roller coaster has you start looking at some assets and liabilities, some of the traits, some of the things that you take on that are assets that are positive, some of the liabilities. So notice where you come up on that list, how you play. You play energy and attitude with more liabilities all day, or do you play with assets all day? And the other piece, again, in paying attention is what causes you to go back and forth, or what causes you to stay stuck. So again, this is a big awareness week. So as you keep going, leading your life, staying down under, hear from positive energy. Again, on page 23, I'm repeating a lot of the details of change your conversation, source amazing great power that can be, fueled by faith, have confidence, certainty. And just a reminder, confidence and certainty comes from evidence, spurred on by your big dreams. People say, why do you keep getting up and doing it? And I said, because I have a big dream, right? And I have a big mission on this planet. You all do. The difference is whether you'll accomplish it, whether you're going to achieve the legacy. And, one of our last of the 8 weeks, we're going to talk a lot about your legacy. Are you really living your gifts, or are you trying to find some new ones? That's an interesting sabotage that you do. And then are you still doing it as a lone ranger? Are you cultivating that team? And are you engaged in the proper sequence? And all of that will propel you. Again, the inquiry is at the end of every chapter. So 25, what's your best source? Who adds to it? Who takes it away? So, I led with a lot of this already. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 are absolutely mandatory. And the way that I want to start every call is really from your posts during the week, from questions that you can send in. Right now we'll use info, INFO, at liveoutloud.com, and Jessica will compile them. She won't be getting back to you in the email, but she'll be compiling them so I can start the calls with lots of your questions that are directed to me. And as well, Ken, Andrew, and our team will be really, watching your posts. Diane will be watching the posts and what your conversations are during the week. And, hold each other accountable. If you're, an active blog and poster and other people aren't, we're going to encourage them to engage and play. So as you read through 1 and you read through 2, you do the inquiries. The other, again, big one is your dreams. Because if your why doesn't get big enough and you don't get really attached to it, it's easy. It is so easy to watch so many people in their lives, just go to their grave and never got one dream, not one. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? It's a choice to have that. It's a choice to not have a dream. It's a choice to not have a bigger thing you want to do. It's a choice. So a lot of homework. Ken is out and been capturing that. For you coaches, don't get worried. We'll be transcribing as well as putting PowerPoints together. For those of you that are listening, and this is a new program, we do certify people to do this work. So after the 8 weeks, we have another 10-week training that we certify people to do this work after we go through it. You have to go through and live it and breathe it and activate it, and then can become a certified coach of Live Out Loud in it. So we're very excited to bring that as another way to help you get very anchored in teaching what you need to learn. So there will be homework. There will be posts as we continue into next week. Again, I'm going to review a lot, answer questions, clear the space for a whole next round, and we'll be getting into the Chapter 3 of Because I Can, and we'll just keep marching forward. I always want to allow some time for some Q&A, so I think, Dawn, if you're still with me, and I believe Ken was going to text some of that out to you and respond to some of that. Is that possible right now?
Yes, I do have some questions, Laurel. Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
I sure can. Thanks.
Oh, okay. First question here from Sarah is calling in or listening in from Tacoma. She said, you talk about our obligation to be a leader. Do you see that item, stepping into my own leadership linked to the economy we end up participating in, and can I really be in a different economy than my neighbors? Good question. That's
a great question, and yes. Yes. Because, the thing is, some of your neighbors, I see it. I see, from, neighbors to, we live in a very tourist-driven economy up here. I see, it's interesting. I see restaurant owners that are thriving in the very same street of restaurant owners that are barely surviving. I see real estate agents and brokers absolutely thriving in the same exact real estate market that, some others are barely surviving. And you can look around and you can see those. And that's actually, was her name Sarah that asked that question?
Yes, that was Sarah in Tacoma.
Sarah and all of you, I think that's another that's just a great paying attention, is notice how many businesses have the same business and who's making it and who isn't. And then it's almost like you want to engage with those owners because they are doing something different. And so that's a great way to start paying attention to what are they doing and what are other people doing. I have so many, whether it's image consultants or jewelry designers, clothes designers, and we have some students who are just jamming, making it happen, and we have some students who are just committed to struggle. So I think that it's completely your choice to have that personal economy that you want, and it is personally their choice to stay stuck in what they have. So I don't think there's a norm across it all. Now, what you could say is a norm across it all is interest rates are where they are and lending is where it is, and credit, this whole credit system that's a disaster is where it is. But that doesn't mean you can't create and design an economy from where you are. So great question. And yes, you can have it different. And I would expect all of you that are on these calls to start leading in any way that you can start that leading.
Great, Laurel. Here's another question. This is from Derek in New York City. Derek asks, how do you stay so positive? I believe you when you say you've been hit hard, but man, it's tough. What is, and he's got this in capital letters, Laurel, what is the very first thing you do when the wheels fall off the car?
I go ski.
Oh, good.
I disconnect from where the source of pain is. I really do. I leave that environment because I think one of the things, and that's just a great question, because there's so many ways that you could solve it. But one of the things I'd encourage you all to not do, whether it's a work situation, today that was up for me a little bit, right? Whether it's a work situation, family situation, whatever situation, is what I think a mistake I constantly see is folks trying to push in further to solve it too quickly. Time and space heals a lot, right? It gives you perspective to get away from it. And energetically, you get away from it. So I feel like if there's just too much pushing energy in space, whatever the situation is, you're never going to get away from it. So I think you got to move out away from it, find the places where you can kind of recharge, find some grace and ease, disconnect, and get some perspective. And for some of you, that's the way I do it, right? I go out and just, I get so much different energy and perspective and space, being out in the mountain, or running or wherever, but doing some physical activity. Where some of you, being with other people creates that. So I think that's part of what I want you to find in the homework is what can cause you to find that positive energy, and very quickly. Proctor was a mentor of mine for years and years and years, and I think one of the most, riveting thoughts that just really helped is, everyone's going to have their downtime, but the most successful and effective have it, and literally I want you to kind of put your hands together for less time, and then the cut's not as deep. And only you can kind of manage how far you let a cut happen when things, when you get taken to your knees, and how long you're going to let it affect you before you get back up. And little kids are a perfect example. They fall down on their bike, they get back on. They fall down, they get back on. I tend to use sports metaphors. I wish I could have more business metaphors, but unfortunately I see people fall down. And, I just saw a multi-millionaire. We were friends for a long time, hadn't seen him. He really disconnected. I knew he was having a tough time with his business. And I just saw him up on the mountain recently, and I was just, how you doing? He's from L.A. And he said, I laid it all down. He said, I threw the whole thing into bankruptcy, had a divorce, let my wife have everything left over, and I just moved away. He said, I live in a crappy little apartment, and I'll never rebuild it because I don't ever want to have to go through it again. I'm thinking, oh, my God, you talk about a no energy, lay down your life. And how does that model your kids? And I don't know. That's just, all those are choices, but what a sad one. So I think what's the most important is find the thing that can immediately get you back to a place of grace and ease and calm, which is a place where you can say yes, which it requires energetic space. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm talking about yet, but there's got to be some space. It's like sometimes you get so immersed in a situation, and I want you to notice your physicality of it. It's like you can't even breathe. And you guys know, I couldn't teach this if I hadn't lived through this crap. But my first advice was go find space, whatever that is for you, however that is. Hope that helps.
Yeah, that's great. Great answer. Thank you. All right, Stephen D. from Rollingwood, Texas asks, he says, Laurel, I have a strong business. I do business consulting with small to medium-sized businesses with pretty good revenue coming in, but I really want to take it to the next level, and I believe this energy piece is critical to make that happen. Can you talk about the impact the Yes Energy piece can have on my consulting business if I just keep doing everything else the same? Technically very sound, he says.
So technically sound, but I think where I would go, I know because it's where I go, is how do you use that bigger energy that you haven't really stepped into because it's there and it's available, right? Energy's infinite. So what are the relationships, the joint ventures? Specifically because you're asking about business, but what are the places? And you saw me do it in the summit. I pulled off 44 interviews, some of which are easy interviews because they're friends of mine and they like to do them and you see them a lot, and some of which you've never heard of before, which was, a big thing, which would then cause more to happen. So I want you to step towards those bigger relationships, bigger joint ventures, bigger contracts, like what's the next move, and energetically create it to hold that space. And then what that's going to cause is your team to have to also step up to it. There's a huge energetic in who you attract in that. And it is just pure energy in that, pure intention. Now, what's going to be interesting is you have to do it without attachment. And I know that gets later in the book, and it's a little more sophisticated because some of you are just learning to even pay attention to energy, much less than have that intention without attachment. And that's a huge piece that I talk about as we really get into, faith and more parts of the book. Because you're going to have huge intentions, and then something else is going to show up, which is really the right thing that should have showed up. And the thing that you were intending that you thought was so clear, it's okay to let it go. You say, well, it's kind of a dichotomy, and Buckminster Fuller wrote the best about it. It's pretty heavy stuff, but it works. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Tracy from Lincoln, Nebraska, Laurel, we got a Nebraska on here, says, this is just a comment, but I wanted to hear
that a Nebraska chick actually wrote all this? Yeah.
She says, wow. And then she quotes you, I expect you to get honest. She says, I'm doing honest assessing for the first time, maybe ever. Thank you, Laurel. Love the book. Here's a question from Karen in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Is it realistic to have the, quote, big, hairy, audacious dream, end quote, if I haven't had a huge track record of success in business? I'm a really great mom, but I don't have a formal education.
Yeah, formal education has nothing to do with it. Almost every successful person, a lot of successful people don't have big degrees. You look at a lot of folks, including Gates, they're, big school dropouts. So don't get all tangled in the educational part. But I think where you've got to get tangled if you don't have experience, you've got to take very seriously is the lack of experience. And so don't do this journey by yourself. If you don't have a lot of experience, you can have big, hairy, audacious dreams. But I think you got to get real about how you're going to get them. And other people's talent and other people's experience is going to get you there faster. So instead of just doing some unrealistic, fantasy setting, which is kind of the other side of dreams, because dreams are real, fantasies are fantasies, then I would get closer to the people who create dreams all the time and like to nail them and they live them, right? So I would have a little more real experience around you as you say what's so. Because there is a part of knowing that it's possible, which gives you amazing confidence when you see people that have accomplished it. You're just like, oh my gosh, if they can do it, I can do it. And you're going to be stunned when you start really paying attention to the amount of people who have had amazing results in their life, and you think, oh my God, if they can do it. And that's where there's a lot of momentum in that certainty that you have to find.
Great answer. Having that right community around you is huge. I don't know if it's Tara or Tara in Naperville, Illinois. She says, thank you, Laurel Langmeyer. You have helped me see where I have been compromising and blaming and placing blame on others. I am on my second reading of your book, and it has allowed me to see things I had missed for years.
And so what's the question? Or is that more of
there isn't a question. That's just a thank you, Laurel Langmeyer, and I wanted to acknowledge it, but here is a question.
Well, here's what I want to say, and I'm going to ask for all your help. I want this book to stay, which, by the way, Don, I just uncovered this. We had a huge write-up in Publishers Weekly, which is a big, big deal. And we were number 9 by them, so we're actually a 6-time bestseller. I just saw that when I left the office today, that we were number 9 on the Publishers Weekly bestseller list, which is kind of like a toughest list to get. So I just had to share my fun success. And so my request to all of you, as you write it, tell your friends to get it. Like, let's help. I want this for us to be the movement that kind of has to get that tipping point, like Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Everybody told everybody, yeah, I'm ready, you read it, and people just kept going to Amazon to get it. So
better still buy it as a gift, right?
What?
I say better still buy it as a gift. It's the greatest gift you could give somebody.
Because it's like, I need you to be on this team. So thank you for that. Let's do another question.
Okay. You talk about looking deep, finding those key moments when things get shifted. What if I'm having trouble finding those key moments? That's from Diane in Santa Barbara, California.
You mean key moments, so just clarifying where things are tough? So
she was talking about when you were encouraging people to look deep, to really acknowledge those key moments where things shifted for them, maybe where they started shrinking, you were talking earlier.
Yep. Well, for some of you, you may not have had a lot. You might, but then I would also look a different place and say, have you lived kind of numb? You know, and I'm going to say, in some of you are going to say, you know what, just had an amazingly grand life and not a lot's happened. That's perfect. That doesn't mean you can't have more yes energy, more contribution, more leadership. This is a growth activity, right? And it's endless learning, and it's, you know, this hunger of wanting, you know, not more just to more and being exhausted. It's just because you're curious. And I think that's a different energy I want you to think about for some of you that haven't had a lot of hits. then how do you be curious about what's possible next? But I do want to have you look in another place, Diane, which is, are you just being numb and not wanting to look? Because that happens as well.
Excellent.
All right.
Dennis.
You have a lot of homework. We're going to put up the findyouryesenergy.com site. It may not be up tonight, but it will be up tomorrow. We'll have a replay up there. We'll have a list of your homework so you can't get lost. There will be some directive towards what we're going to be doing in the next week. If you found this great and you want some of your other friends to join, they can always go back to the yesenergybook.com, go get over there and get signed up so they can take this journey with you and come along through this whole course. And again, stay in touch with our team, info@liveoutloud.com. We'll make sure Jessica knows that there could be a flood of emails coming in, and she'll stack them up and get them ready. If they get really, really big, then we'll probably chunk them into themes of the question and come back during the week with some answers. So we'll see how much interaction gets created from the group as we continue our 8 weeks. So thanks for being on tonight. I hope you enjoyed. Love your feedback. And we will be in touch. Same time, same channel next week. Thanks, Don.
You're welcome, Laurel. Thank you so much. Great call, and we'll see everybody here next week.